Yes. See this. Now we need to discuss about contract of pledge. Contract of pledge. Let us see the contract of pledge. Pledge is a special kind of bailment. As we discussed, we know that is pledge is a special kind of bailment. So, what happens in the case of contract of pledge? Goods are delivered as security for loan or fulfillment of an obligation. When a person requires money, he can borrow the money, he can borrow it from a person who is ready to lend it. However, the person who is lending the money normally expect the borrower to give some valuable as a security for the repayment of debt. So this is a concept or basic meaning of pledge. So what happens if the borrower is unable to repay the money? In that case, creditor gets the right to sell the goods. So now if you compare this thing, if you compare contract of pledge with contract of bailment, now my question is whether Bailey can sell the goods. Answer please. Please comment in the chat box whether Bailey can sell the goods. Can you tell me? In the case of contract of pledge, the pledgee can sell the goods if there is a non-payment. But in the case of bailment, whether Bailey can sell the goods, whether Bailey has a right to sell the goods. If he can sell, you can type yes. If he can't, then you can type no. Can you tell the answer? Can you comment in the chat box now? Just comment in the chat box. Yes. Whether Bailey has a right to sell the goods given by the bailor. Simple question. Can you tell me? Why you are not answering? Very simple this is. No. Yes, that is correct answer. Why? Because here bailor is the original owner of the goods. Bailor is the original owner of the goods and the original owner has given the goods only for some time to keep the safe custody of the goods with the bailee. So that is why bailee cannot sell the goods. So that is the meaning of this one. But in the case of pledge, if the borrower is unable to repay the amount borrowed by the borrowed, then the creditor gets the rights to sell the goods given as security and recover the loan amount lent by him to the borrower. Therefore, delivery of the goods by the borrower to the creditor at the time of borrowing the money is called pledge. So, since we have discussed about the parties under the pledge, the person who pledges the goods is called the pawner or the pledger, or the person who has given the goods as a security is known as pawner or the pledger. Then the creditor is known as pawnee or the pledgee, or the person with whom the possession of the security is there. That person is known as pawnee or the pledgee. Okay, so there are two parties. Now, what are the essentials of valid pledge? That we need to see. So, what are the essentials are there? First one, delivery of possession of goods. So, here it is very important to transfer the goods from owner to pawnee. If there is no transfer of the goods from pawnee to pawnee, in that case there is a no pledge. And one more thing, pawnee to pawnee transfer must be there, and along with that, it transfer must be as a part of security. If there is no security, then there is no pledge. Then second one, transfer of movable property only. Movable property like ornament, goods or any other valuable may be given as a security to raise a fund. So there is a question comes about a land. So land is a immovable property. That is why it doesn't come under pledge, and it is there is a separate concept known as mortgage. Okay, that is about second one. Then there is a ownership of the goods with the pawnee. So here one more thing. Here owner is the pawnee. That means the person who has given the goods. So for example, let us take the example of gold. The person who has given the gold is the owner of the goods, and the person to whom with whom the gold is kept, that person is known as pledgee. He can have only possession and not the ownership. When he can have the ownership, can you tell me? When he can have the ownership, or when the pledgee can have the ownership? Can you tell me? Under what circumstances pledgee can have the ownership of the goods? Yes. Can you tell me now? Very simple this is. You can answer in the chat box. See, answer is only when there is a non-payment. Only when there is a non-payment of money by the pledger. In that case, he will become the owner or he gets the right to sell the goods. That is the meaning of this one. Third one. Fourth one. Fourth one is when there is a prompt repayment of the amount borrowed along with the interest, it is the duty of the pawnee to return the goods. That means once all the loan amount is settled, he has to give the securities back. That is the meaning of this one. Suppose, so now let us take the example of bank and mortgage example. Mortgage example we'll take. If you take the money, that is, let us take the example of 30 lakhs. You want 30 lakhs loan from the bank and you have taken 30 lakhs loan for the house construction. In that case, or for the already built house, all if you want to purchase one house, you have taken 30 lakh. So in that case, what happens? You have to keep the house document with the banker, isn't it, until you repay the loan. So that is the meaning of this one. Once you repay all the loan with the interest amount, then you can take back your document. So if you take the example of housing loan for that matter, so if you see, if you take 30 lakh loan at 8% interest, for one example, I am talking. So for that too for 20 years. In that case, so what happens? You are paying more interest than the principal amount. You can check this one. If you take 30 lakh loan, then after 20 years, your total amount will be, of course, it is more than 60 lakh or close to 60 lakh. So who is getting the benefit here? The bank is getting the benefit. And one more thing is about the EMI. If you see properly, that is in the initial period. Suppose if you have taken the loan for 20 years, let us say for initial 7 to 8 year, what happens? You are paying almost 75 to 80% of the amount in your EMI as interest only. So if you can see this. Suppose EMI, let us say for monthly you are paying 30,000 for 30 lakh loan, you are paying 30,000 as EMI. So from that 30,000, 26,000 or 25,000 goes for interest payment. Only 5,000 goes for principal. So this is are there that we need to see. These are things are there. So now 4 points are there for essentials of valid pledge. After discussing this, next thing we need to discuss about what is the difference between the bailment and the pledge. So how it differs from one another, that we need to see. So first one, pledge is for specific purpose. So what do you mean by specific purpose? Specific purpose means under pledge, that is only for security. Specific purpose means only pledge happens only for security of the goods. But in the case of bailment, there are more than one purpose. You can say there are general purpose. What do you mean by more than one purpose? More than one purpose means it can be for safe custody, it can be for usage, it can be for repair. So you can take the example of watch. You are giving the watch for repair. So what happens after 2 days? You are getting your watch back and you are giving the payment to the repairer. So that is the meaning here. See this. That is also one case of bailment. So that example you can give. That is the first difference. Now second one, when there is a default in the payment by the pawnee, creditor can sell the goods, but in the case of bailment, when there is a expense are met by the bailee and it is not paid by the bailer, bailee can only sue the bailer for recovery of charges. That means here in the case of pledge, non-payment means he gets a right to sell. But in the case of bailment, what happens? In the case of bailment, if you see, some expenses are incurred by bail. So what are those expenses? Expenses may be ordinary expenses or the extraordinary expenses or special expenses. So if special expenses are not paid, or if ordinary expenses for that matter, ordinary expenses are not paid by the bailer, in that case he can withhold their goods until they make the payment, but he cannot sell the goods. That is the meaning of this one. Second one. Third one, pawnee cannot use the goods, only he can retain. Who is a pawnee? Pawnee means a creditor. Creditor can only keep the goods. He cannot use the goods. Whereas bailee can use the goods if the purpose of bailment is to use the goods. If it is for safe custody, if the purpose of bailment is for safe custody, in that case, bailee also cannot use the goods. Why? Because the purpose is different. We have to follow the instructions given by the bailer. So these are the main three differences between bailment and pledge. So now next thing comes after discussing this is rights of pawnee and rights of pawner. So now have you understood now bailment and pledge? Any doubt regarding the bailment and pledge you can ask me now. Any doubt regarding the bailment and pledge? Yes, you can ask me. Amrita, Anusha, Ashish, Kuchal, Narasimha, Nishant, Omkar, Pooja, Pratish, Rajat, Shifali, Swati. If you have any doubt regarding the contract of bailment and contract of pledge, you can ask. Rajat is saying no doubt. Others, I hope you have understood this. Ashish is also saying, Pratish is also saying no doubt. So I hope this concept is clear. If you know the concept, then you can elaborate. That is very easy if you know the concept. So now let us see after discussing this. Yes, Ashish is saying yes. So now rights of pawnee after this. So who is a pawnee? We know pawnee means creditor. So what and all right creditor may get? One is right of retain. That means he can retain the goods when there is a non-payment or failure to repay the loan. So what example you can give? You can create your own example. You can create your own example. Suppose one person goes and asks for 30 lakh loan, and the other person gives 30 lakh loan, and if he fails to pay the amount, if he fails to pay the amount, and he has kept some gold as a security, in that case what happens? He can pledgee can sell the golds. Now that is the meaning. First one, right of retainer. Second one, right of retainer for subsequent advances. That means, what do you mean by subsequent advances? More than one advances is given. Suppose there is a and B. A is a pledger and B is a pledgee. A asked for 25 lakh and B has given 25 lakh. And for this he has kept his gold as a security. Now during the transaction, the time period is 3 months. Within those time period, again he wants some additional 15 lakh. First he asked for 25, then he asked for 15. So now what happens? His rights will continue. Whose right we are talking? Creditor's right will continue for the subsequent advances also. He can retain the goods. If subsequent advances are also not paid, he can retain the goods. Then right to extraordinary expenses. So what do you mean by extraordinary expenses? For preservation of the goods, if the pawnee met additional expenses, same can be recovered from the pawner. So what are those additional expenses? So preservation of goods means here, suppose if you are keeping the gold and that gold pawnee cannot keep in his home, so he keeps in some locker. So for that there is a locker charge, isn't it? So in that case, he can recover that charges also from the person who has given the such securities. So that is the meaning of this one, ordinary expenses. Then now fourth one, right against the true owner when the owner's title is defective. So what do you mean by title is defective? Actually here A has given gold as a security and gold belongs to someone else. Gold belongs to C. In that case, title is defective. Title is defective means here we don't know who is the true owner. Who is the true owner of the goods? That is why here what happens? He gets the good title to the goods. That means he can keep the goods until the true owner is found. That is pawnee or the creditor. Now fifth one, pawnee is right in the case of default. Either he can file the suit against the owner or he can sell the goods. That is the fifth one. However, in the case of sale of goods, shall be done only after giving the notice of sale to the owner. That means before selling the goods, some intimation shall be sent to the pledger or the pawnbroker. Without giving the notice, the creditor cannot sell the goods. Even for bank, before making the auction, suppose if you have not paid the money for your house loan, bank will send you the notice, isn't it? At least one or two notice they will send. Then finally, after one or two default, they decide that your house is going to be auctioned. So that is the meaning of this one. See this. That is pawn is right in the case of default. So there are five points are there in the case of rights of pawnee. So now we discuss rights of pawnee. Next thing we need to discuss rights of pawner. What and all rights pawner is having? See this. Under rights of pawner, first one, right to get the pledged goods back. That means after paying the loan amount or after paying the loan amount with interest, he has to take his goods back, and he cannot keep the goods with the pledgee forever. He has to take his good back. That is the first one. Second one, right to redeem the debt. What do you mean by this? If the pawner makes the default in the repayment of debt within the stipulated time, he may still redeem the goods before the sale, provided he has to make good for the losses suffered by the pawnee. That means now you know you have made several default. Now it is decided that your goods are going to be auctioned and sold. Still you have chance. Still you have chance to recover the goods. How you can recover the goods? By paying all the amount. By paying all the amount or by paying the losses. What and all losses suffered by the pawnee. So that is the meaning of this second one. Then third one. Third one is right to receive any increase. When there is an increase in the goods pledged, pawner has every right to receive the same or claim the same. So what do you mean by right to additional? That means increase in the good means what? It is additional to the good. Suppose you are keeping the gold and you are receiving the interest. Usually interest won't be given to the, will not be given to the original owner. Suppose if you take the lease agreement also for that matter, if you are giving the amount, you are giving the amount that is one lump sum amount, isn't it? Let me say that is 10 or 15 lakh for lease, and that amount is kept in the bank, and that lesser is getting interest. Yes, so that is different thing, lesser and lessee agreement. But in this agreement, under pledger agreement, that is a contract of pledge, what happens if you keep the gold in the bank or if you take sovereign gold bond? Now recently what happened, gold bond scheme has come up. So yes, electricity also went. So what happens, bond scheme is there. So under this bond scheme, you can take the bond at the present price. So what is the present price? So let us take, you can take the bond at 10 gram. 10 gram gold price is now 50 to 54,000, inclusion of GST. Of course, there is a 3% GST is there. So now 54,000 bond you can take. After that, what happens? Lock-in period is. Lock-in period is for 8 years. Okay. So there is a provision you can withdraw the money after 5 years. After 5 years, anytime you can withdraw the money. And one more thing, what is the benefit of this scheme? Sovereign gold bond scheme issued by the RBI, that issues are made that is frequent, that is once in a quarter. So that is for 1 year, at least 3 to 4 issues RBI will make. So the benefit is for every year for that paper gold. So this bond is like a paper gold. For that, what happens? You are getting certain interest. So that interest rate is 2.5% interest you are getting every year. So if you keep your gold at home, you are not getting anything, isn't it? That is physical gold. But if you invest properly, if you invest in paper gold, you will get interest for your gold. In addition, one more benefit what you are going to get is, suppose now you have purchased a gold, or that is 10 gram gold, 10 gram paper gold for 54,000. After 8 years, when you redeem your gold, what happens? You will get the gold at the whatever the value during that time. That is after 8 years, of course, the gold price, it is expected to go high. So the gold price may reach up to 1 lakh, up to 1 lakh for 10 gram. So of course there is a benefit of 46,000 if you wait for 8 year. Along with that 2.5 interest every year. So but there is one more concept comes is about inflation. Whether whatever you are earning, that is 2.5 and whatever the amount after 8 years, whether it will beat the inflation or not. So if you see the inflation rate of India, that is around 6 to 8% every year. That means what? Suppose if you are purchasing the rice, that is for 2 kilo rice for 100. Next year, for that same 2 kilo rice, you have to pay 108 or 110 rupees. So in that case, it is almost break even. It cannot beat the inflation. That is my take. So these are the things are there that and all we need to see. So right to receive any increase, yes, we have discussed. So these are the concept comes under